Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with my 100th video. Now for me, I feel like that's a pretty big milestone. I'm pretty excited the fact that I've been able to stick at this for 100 videos. I mean, think about doing anything 100 times. That's a lot. So, you know what? 100 videos is pretty cool. So I racked my brain and said, what do I really want to do for my 100th video? Well, here it is. My BK9. This is a pretty sweet knife. It's a setup that I really enjoy. I figured, you know what? I've focused a lot on knives for a bulk of my videos, and why should this be any different? I love knives, I love blades, and the BK9 I'm starting to really enjoy. But the one thing, if you've watched my channel, you know I like a finger choil. So I thought, what the heck? Let's play around and modify my BK9. Alright, so here's the plan. You'll see here that I've kind of marked out the shape that I think I want the choil to be in. And I'm going to figure out how I'm going to go about creating it. But first things first is getting the right layout and the right shape. And here's some of the things that I've thought about in doing this. First off is, if you've watched me long enough, you know what this is, the SE6, my go-to blade. For me, one of the features that I really enjoy is this finger choil. So, in other words, if I was to create a finger choil on the BK9 of pretty much the same size and geometry, my question in my head is, will that give me the same level of comfort on the BK9 that it does on the SE6? Now, some of the things that I'm weighing through my mind when I make this determination, first thing is, you'll see here that you have the full width of the stock most of the way through this choil, and then it thins out a little bit once you get down into that flat grind, right about here. So in reality, the meat of your finger is actually bearing on the full thickness of the spine. And the other aspect to that is that essentially you have the entire thickness of the spine, which on this particular knife is a 3/16 stock. So a 3/16 stock on the choil is pretty beefy, and therefore any of the structural integrity that you have going through the blade also translates through the choil, so it's not going to be really weakened in any regard having the choil there. On the BK9, I'm just a little bit skeptical. I mean, this isn't a full flat grind. The grind starts partway down the blade, so the reality is it's probably not quite as thin once I get to the top of the choil as it really would have been maybe if this was a full flat grind. But still, I mean, I think once I start grinding into this, the reality is the choil is not going to be super fat. It's still going to be on a reasonably thin part of the blade, and so I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be any comfort issues, or if it's going to have any structural really integrity problems because of the thin material down here. But at the same time, my mind also tells me that I'm not taking away too much material. I still have a lot of depth here on the top of the blade, so I'm hoping that even if I put a choil in here, I'm still not going to do too much in terms of the strength of the blade, creating a weakness or any stress points that could potentially damage the blade or cause a failure. I mean, the other part of me says, what the hell? You don't try, you don't gain. So, you know, what's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is I trash my BK9. I'll have to get another one. But you know what? I'm pretty confident in this. So, what the hell? I'm going to give it a try. Alright, so what I think I'm opting to do is, first off, use the bench grinder to take a bulk of the material away and get it close. And then from there, I think I'm going to switch tools. But, you know, what I found is, like most good knife modifications, you got to take advantage of your wife's good cookware. So here I have just a little Pyrex capable of fitting the knife with some water so I can keep the blade cool. I don't want to heat it at all. I don't want to mess with the heat treat. If I get this wrong, I could completely screw up the knife. So just having some water here to keep the blade cool while I start to take the meat off this choil, it's going to do me some good having it there. So anyway, let's get this thing started. Alright, so here's the start. So far so good. You can see I've taken a bulk of the meat away. I took a tiny little piece right there on the edge of the blade so that when I grip it, I'm not in harm's way of nicking my finger. I mean, even if I put my finger there, it's like a little bit sharp, but it's not like razor sharp like the rest of the blade. So it's just a little bit of a safety precaution there. And then I'm going to kiss it again. I think what I'm going to use now is like a Dremel with a sanding bit, just to try to round this out and then pull it up into a little more of an arc. But I did start to get it close. You know, I want to be careful. I don't want to damage my handle. I don't want to damage the guard. I want this to look like a professional finish, so I'm taking my time and going slow. But now it's time to hit the sandpaper, see if I can round this out, get myself the final shape. So that's where I'm at right now. And I need to start making decisions about this. Do I try to get this little point right there down and kind of continue this arc that you can see nice and smooth and even from this finger guard right down through and around, which to me is honestly probably the right thing to do to get rid of that little hot spot right there. But the trade-off is I need to be very careful with my tool as to not damage the finger guard. And you'll see already not a huge deal, but I did get a little tiny nick from that Dremel, which honestly I can feel that it did nothing. All it did is actually strip the patina. So a little bit of mustard and that's going to go away. I need to mustard patina the choil anyway. So it's decision time. Maybe I'll give it a little bit more effort, but at the same time, this may be good enough without doing any substantial damage to that guard. pretty damn close. I mean, we could be picky here, right? I mean, if I needed to get that down just a little bit more. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, that's like a craftsmanship thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, functionality's there right now. That little hump and that finesse to get that swoop and that choil just right. That's craftsmanship, man. I mean, I'm a picky guy. Part of me says I should try to fix it. The other part of me says, dude, why are you messing with it? I don't know. I might just leave it like it is for now. Try it out and see how I like it. Besides, I might decide, who knows, maybe I want to go just a little bit deeper anyway. So I think I'm going to call that good for the moment. All right, you know what? I lied. Looking at that from here, I need to fix that. I'm going to mess this up and be pissed, but at least right now I know I'm not completely satisfied, so let's go at it just a little bit more. So I think that's it, at least for the heavy duty work. I mean, that shape's pretty good. It's, I think, pretty much what I envisioned. I mean, maybe I was thinking it would have gone just a tiny bit deeper right at the top of that curve just to kind of round it out. But at the same time, I don't want to go too far. I'm pretty happy with overall how it came out. And I mean, at least in terms of function, it feels just about right to me. So, you know, like I said, I just kissed over this edge here. So, I mean, look, it's not even sharp. Just enough that I don't hurt my finger by accident grabbing the knife. That to me feels pretty nice. And so, you know what? I might just take a little sandpaper by hand and knock these little tiny edges down just to soften them up a bit. I'm going to hit this thing with some mustard just to get the patina on it. And you know what? Maybe tomorrow I'll do some testing and we'll make sure that this thing's still as good and strong as it was before I added that choil. Alright guys, so I think now it's time for a little bit of testing just to make sure that the changes that I made in adding this choil doesn't have any overall effect to the strength of the blade. But there's only one way to find out, and that's to start using it. So I'd have to think that one of the logical choices for what I do to test the strength is to do some batoning, and I picked this piece of wood because it's got this big, crazy, gnarly knot in it. You know, there used to be a branch coming off here, and so if I go down through all this, it should be hopefully a pretty good test. So let's at least give this thing a try, see what happens here. So far, so good. I'll spin it this way so you can see what's going on here. I mean, I'm hitting this as hard as I can. I don't think this will actually go down through there, but I might as well just pound it. Oh, wow. Okay, I was wrong. No problem. So far, so good. Let's do some chopping here. don't feel anything that gives me any cause for worry, certainly not at this point. And now let's give it a little cross baton. Sweet. So far, so good. Okay, and so now, for the main reason why I added the choil in the first place, some of those finer detailed tasks, you know, carving tasks or anything that I wanted to do that, you know, really could use the purpose for the choil. And so, you know, right off the get-go, I'm going to tell you that it's not the ideal thickness on the choil. You know, it's a little thin because I'm down here on the grind. So the choil area is thinner than on most factory choils. You know, a lot of times if they're going to keep a choil, they'll keep the full thickness of that stock through the choil area. But, you know, it doesn't bother me too much. You know, I have, in my opinion, significant improved control when I'm trying to do something maybe like feather sticks like this. And so just that alone is worth having done this. I mean, you're not sitting there doing feather sticks for hours on end. You're basically just going to process them out as quickly as you can in an effort to get a fire started. So, you know, for that, this is pretty good. Yeah, really good, actually. And let's just carve down the end of this stick here. Maybe into somewhat of a spike or a point. So, you know, I am gripping this using the choil, getting a little more control through here as I'm working. You know, versus, I don't know, now that I have the choil, I know why I like them. I mean, what do you do here? How do you grip the knife? You push off here to carve? I mean, maybe that's what you do. But for me, when you're making a spear or something like that, this is definitely the grip you want. Makes the knife just feel so much lighter. You know, you get a little more balance through here and slightly different angle. I mean, versus really trying to, you know, turn the knife here. When you grip it like this, you're just able to kind of push through. And that control is just so much better. So, like I said, it's a little thin, kind of bugs me a little bit, but it's either that or don't have it at all. And I think I prefer to have it, and it's not ideal, than to not have it at all. Well, all right, guys, there you have it. A Becker BK9 choil modification. I think I would call that a success. Just want to say thanks, guys, for hanging in there with me while I come across my 100th video. Thought this would be a pretty neat one to try. I look forward to the next 100, that's for sure. So, anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you checking out my channel, supporting me. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.